A very good evening to everybody. Respected CA Rashmin by Sanghvi, today's speaker. CA Zubin Billy Moria, Honorary Secretary, BCS. CA Mahesh Nayak, Convener. Past President, present, friends. How does one tax the digital economy wherein one carry out significant business in a country without physical presence? With technology advancement, this question has been a burning issue discussed between countries and experts in the field of international tax. The importance of this issue can be evidenced by the fact that taxation on the digital economy was the action plan number 1 out of the 15 action plans of the OECD's base erosion and profit shifting or BEPS project. However, more than a decade after discussion and deliberation, we do not yet have a functional solution which has achieved multilateral consequences amongst the countries. India was one of the first country to introduce unilateral measures in the form of equalization levy to tax the digital economy, a trend which was followed by various other countries now. The inclusive framework, consisting of more than 130 countries, including India, have continued with deliberations and discussions to try and achieve a consensus solution to taxing the digital economy. A two-pillar solution is now gaining momentum to achieve the consensus amongst the countries. Pillar 1, dealing with taxation on digital economy. Pillar 2, dealing with global minimum tax. At the time of implementation of Pillar 1, countries are expected to give up and withdraw the unilateral measure enacted by them. While understanding the Pillar 1 proposal in depth is something each professional should consider, it is equally or perhaps more important to first understand the benefit India may have by enacting Pillar 1 solution and withdrawing unilateral measures such as equalization levy. Today's esteemed speaker, Shri Rashmin by Sanghvi, will explain the various aspects of Pillar 1 and whether India, one of the largest growing economy, would benefit from this solution. I would request all the members present as well as online to take the maximum benefit out of it. Since many are here and many are online, I would like to also introduce BCS to those who are new, whether here or online present. Bombay Chartered Accountant Society is India's largest and oldest voluntary professional body of chartered accountants, with a membership exceeding almost 8,500 plus individuals and a widespread presence across 250 cities and towns in India. BCS has been unwavering in its commitment towards the development of profession since 1949. BCS core mission is to provide its member with extensive opportunity for growth and advancement through multifaceted approach encompassing learning events, research publications, advocacy, networking opportunities, and community initiatives. By operating as a not-for-profit organization, BCS relies on dedicated efforts of various volunteers who selflessly contribute their time and expertise while upholding shared values and professional ethics. BCS diligently nurtures its members' professional growth by organizing various events, providing them a platform to enhance their skills and stay updated with industry trends. BCS boasts of an exceptional track record in research publication, prominently showcased by BCAJ, which is the BCA journal, sought after monthly periodical with over 5 decades of publication. BCS extensively outreaches towards nation building by its detailed representation to regulators and government authorities. It also has a comprehensive approach towards professional development combined with its community-focused initiatives. Also, I would like to inform that BCS is entering its 75th year, coming 6 July 2023. And this year we are also planning a mega conference, which is a Platinum Jubilee celebration for BCS on January 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2024 at Geo World Center. More announcements will definitely proceed, and we'll look forward for all of them over there. Thank you for the opening remarks, and I hand over to Mahesh to take the proceedings forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Chirag. Good evening, friends. I have the pleasant task of introducing the speaker for today, CA Rashmin Sanghvi. We all know Rashmin Bhai very well, but as a protocol, I would like to introduce Rashmin Bhai. CA Rashmin Sanghvi is a partner in Rashmin Sanghvi and Associates and practicing as a chartered accountant in Mumbai for nearly 5 decades. His pet subjects of specialization are international tax and FEMA. He has published presented more than 500 papers at various fora on these two subjects. Friends, digital tax is another pet subject of Rashmin Bhai. He was appointed by the CBDT on e-commerce committee in the year 1999. He was also part of the committee which drafted the report on equalization levy as an e-commerce tax, which was imposed by the Finance Act 2016. CA Rashmin Sanghvi, along with CA Naresh Ajwani and CA Rutvik Sanghvi, have also written a book on digital taxation, which has been published by Taxman and is available for free download on the firm's website. Friends, I think all of us would agree that for a lot of us professionals who are studying international tax and FEMA, we all look up to Rashmin sir because of the way that he explains the subject, and the overall perspective that he gives, the larger picture that he gives, and not just on the language that that one focuses on. So it's always a pleasure for all of us to hear Rashmin sir's thoughts on the subject, and I'm sure all of us would deeply benefit by today's lecture meeting. Before I hand over the session to Rashmin sir, may I request Vice President C.A. Chirag Doshi to hand over a memento as a token of our love and appreciation to Rashmin sir. Rashmin sir, over to you.
Good evening, friends. Chirag Bhai, all the best for your 75th year of BCA. And I wish you have lots of more educative conferences. My friend Mahesh and Zubin Bhai, thank you for inviting me to this conference on digital taxation. Friends, this will be more really giving I will try to give an overall picture rather than jumping at the interpretation of law. Generally, we do not even read draft reports by committees and all that. And there are many chartered accountants and lawyers who say, why are you bothering your time now? Let the law be passed. When the law comes, we will read it, then we will interpret it. Why are you working on this now? Actually, we are at a critical situation where going into the details is far more important. And that is exactly the subject which I would like to deal with today. Just a small introduction of the short forms I have used here. Everybody who is in international taxation knows COR and COS, that is country of residence and country of source. Now a new country or a new concept has been introduced, COM, meaning a country of market, which means a company is marketing its products and services in a country where it is not resident, nor does it have a permanent establishment, nor is it a country of source by any manner. So country of market is a new concept now introduced. Dispute resolution mechanism is another very large issue coming up under the OECD BEPS project. Digital services tax is, I think everybody understands, double tax avoidance agreement. Market tax. This is what at the instance of USA, OECD has now introduced. And I'll just give a little background of OECD IF. Initially in the year 2013, it was OECD plus G20, which started the exercise on 15 BEPS reports. BEPS is base erosion and profit shifting. We in India used a very simple terminology, tax planning. But Western world has got habit of using some new terminology for everything. BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting is nothing but tax planning. So people should not get confused about it. Okay, so G20 plus OECD started working on it. And initially the whole target was to prevent tax evasion and tax planning. So tax havens were kept out of it. But too soon they admitted Switzerland, they admitted Mauritius, and all the tax havens have been joining. And then they found that this exercise is very successful. So they again added a term, inclusive framework. IF, short from OECD, IF is a inclusive framework, meaning today 140 countries have joined in this exercise together. This is just a summary. From slides 1 to 50, I will be discussing digital taxation, which is the main subject today. If time permits, then I will take up the second part, which is about international economics. People are scared of USA, and as you will see as we proceed further, large countries, important countries, rich countries are also scared. Why are they scared, and is it justified? That is my second part. But if the time does not permit, I'll just leave it to you. The entire presentation would be uploaded onto the BCA website. Anybody can look at it. So now the first part of the presentation. As the Vice President Chirag Bhai said just now, European countries were concerned that they were not getting their due share of taxation from the revenues collected by digital corporations. Incidentally, it has so happened that almost all the large corporations doing digital business are US residents. They are American organizations. The second group is from China. China has not permitted American digital corporations to do business in China. So China is not bothered about revenue sharing and all that. So China is not participating in this exercise. European countries were the main sufferers, and they really initiated through OECD the BEPS exercise, and their whole target was within a year to come out with a digital taxation system. That was their target in the year 2013. In the year 2023, still there is no workable solution. Now, OECD started discussing about e-commerce taxation. Initially, they used term e-commerce, then now they are using digital commerce. And as new technologies will develop, probably they will use some other terminology. 96, they started discussing. India took up the matter in the year 99. The e-commerce committee was appointed, and India came out with a report in early 21, January or February. From 1996 up to 2012, OECD could not come out with any useful report on e-commerce taxation. And then in some of you might have seen the British Parliamentary Committee interviewing Google executives and Apple executives, and then asking them that you are earning X amount from Britain, why are you not contributing tax to Britain? They were flippant. They did not care. They were not bothered that they are appearing before British Parliamentary Committee. Their backing was American government. When the American government backs an industrialist, he doesn't care for rest of the nations around the world. Anyway, so Europe insisted on having some tax system for e-commerce. Since up to 2013, there was nothing which came. And in 2013, the BEPS discussion started. By 2015, India took an opportunity and introduced equalization levy. From Indian side, that was the first legislation to tax e-commerce giants. Some 5 other countries also introduced similar tax system. I mean, everybody had their own versions. USA was extremely angry. You can understand why USA is angry. Because supposing India levies tax on an American corporation, and if it fits into the double tax avoidance agreement scheme, then USA as the country of residence will have to give a set-off of the tax paid by the corporation to India. So whatever is the amount of tax collected by India, Similar would be the loss of tax revenue for USA. So USA decided that we will not allow BEPS organization or any organization to come out with any tax system. And the IRS, we have CBDT as the head of the tax department in India. In USA, IRS is the top body. So IRS took a decision that we will do stonewalling of BEPS discussions, but we will not allow them to come out with any e-commerce taxation or digital taxation until the end of the year 2020. Countries like Britain, India, they were really frustrated, and everybody passed their own domestic law. So President Mr. Trump threatened all these countries with tax or with a commodities war or economic war, whatever terminology we want to use. Mr. Trump publicly announced and told French government, if you do not withdraw your digital tax, then we will stop importing your champagne into USA. Similar threats were given to other countries, and USTR is United States Trade Representative. They started action under Section 301. And all the 6 countries were threatened. And whatever we may say about India being independent, India being very advanced economy, large economy, whatever we say, all the 6 countries surrendered to USA. In the year 2021, we quietly signed an agreement with USA committing that we will delete our equalization levy and any e-commerce taxation from Indian tax law on or before 31st March 24. So we have now got about 9 months life for equalization levy. Before next budget, or probably with next budget, equalization levy will be deleted. Further, we have agreed that under MLC is the multilateral convention on which the drafting is going on at BEPS. So under MLC, whatever will be the tax payable by any American or any digital corporation, let us say it comes to $100. Okay. And under equalization levy, we have collected $150. Then that $50 Indian government will refund to those corporations. This is what we have signed. And in my earlier talk, when I said, when audience was surprised, they said, what are you talking? I mean, Prime Minister Narendra Modi signing such an agreement, we can't imagine. But when Britain, France, Germany, Austria, the whole of Europe surrenders, everybody surrenders, what is India going to do? We have surrendered. This is what I call unilateralism. US government says, I am the boss. You will better behave what I say. So I have even given the web link for the announcements where India has signed an agreement, and all the other 5 countries have also signed agreements to abolish our unilateral digital tax law. Okay, now I'm coming to the specifics. What is the law? Okay. What is the law? Okay, let me just give a brief introduction here again. The BEPS group, now it is called OECD IF, OECD Inclusive Framework. This group, it is same as BEPS group, but maybe members have changed and all that. But important thing is 140 countries are part of the group. Of course, the tax officers of maybe 5 or 10 countries participate in drafting the future code of taxation. The first thing is, it is no longer digital taxation. US government had a very strong objection against ring fencing. Ring fencing meaning dividing sectors, separate law for digital commerce and separate law for the bricks and mortar commerce. So US government said, why should there be distinction? Everybody should be treated equally. So now practically digital tax word is to be dropped. It is the international tax, considering the fact that the commerce is now digital commerce. Okay. So under the new system, US government has agreed that country of market shall be considered a nexus, or country of market shall have jurisdiction to tax provided that the following conditions are met with. What are the conditions? The SSC or the multinational corporation who is the target for tax must have a minimum global turnover of euros 20 billion. Euros 20 billion amount to rupees 1.8 trillion. Imagine, I mean, one could not imagine that if your revenue is less than rupees 1.8 trillion, you are out of the tax net. Second condition is that corporations' net profit should be more than 10%, which means it should be more than 18,000 crores. We are living in a country where 2.5 lakh rupees is the exemption limit. And here is 18,000 crores net profit. Country of market has no right to tax. Okay. It does not mean that the company goes tax free. It means that US government will tax them. All the corporations which do not fulfill these two criteria, they will be of course paying tax in the country of residence, and it happens to be that USA has got the maximum number of entities there. And these thresholds, as I have just now said, they apply only to the country of market. They do not apply to country of residence. So in USA, supposing like in India, a corporation starts paying tax from the first dollar net profit. So it will pay tax to US government. Now, such ridiculous, I'm sorry to use these blunt words, but a sky high, exemption limits, how do you justify it? There is no justification except the fact that US government wants to collect maximum tax revenue, and it is saying rest of the world, Baba, you take some bits and crumbs here and there and you be satisfied with that. Now, most of the time I've seen and I've discussed with many tax professionals, they look at the law and they start trying to interpret the law. And you don't look at the intention of the drafting group. And the second thing is, what are the implications? Whatever draft legislation is there, if it is implemented, what will be the implication? So I am giving you here an illustration. I am taking illustration of two corporations, two digital corporations, both having turnover of 30 billion euros. One has a net profit of 12%. Another has a net profit of 20%. So, what will be the impact on taxation? It will give us an idea. So here is the company whose global turnover is 30 billion euros. Net profit is 3.6 billion. In case of 20% net profit, it is 6 billion. Now, first 10% of the profit of the corporation is reserved for country of residence. The country of market has no right to touch the taxation until first 10%. Okay. So after deducting 10%, what is the surplus available? In the first case, it is 0.6 billion. In the second case, it is 3 billion. Now from that, you further deduct 75%. So that the country of market gets only 25%. So net would be, in the first case, winning 12% net profit, you get 0.15 billion or 150 million net profit to be taxed in country of market. In the second case, it is 0.75 billion to be taxed in the hands of the country of market. Now remember, country of residence is one. USA. Country of market 139. So this 139 will share this small amount of residual profit. Now, from billion I have come down to millions. Okay, so the net profit in the first case is 150 million euros. Second case is 750 million. This is the profit. So you divide in the proportion of your turnover. So this first company or both companies, let us say, they have a turnover of 30 billion, Indian turnover of 1 billion. So it is 1/30th portion which is taxable in India. In the first case, it is 5 million. You apply Indian corporate tax rate, foreign corporate tax rate, you get 2 million. Out of 1 billion turnover, you get 2 million as your tax, which is 0.02%. 0.02% is something, when you go out, you throw to dogs and cats. That is what here is the proposal. Compare it with equalization levy. Equalization levy, just 2%. Even 2% you compare with royalty, FTS, interest, dividend, which are the different articles under double tax avoidance agreement. Normally the tax rates are 10%, 15%. Compared to that, for equalization levy, we have got 2%. Now the new proposal is not even 2%, 0.02%, or at the maximum 1%. This is what is proposed by BEPS Inclusive Framework Group in the form of MLC, Multilateral Convention. So this arithmetic which I have presented before you, it very clearly shows, leave aside going into the interpretation of the law. We will do that. But prima facie, it shows that this proposal of sharing tax revenue amongst country of residence and country of market is most unfair. In the year 2000, we were working in the e-commerce committee. That time I had presented an idea that eventually country of residence will become irrelevant. Because if a company goes ahead and resides in a tax haven, what are you going to do? Okay. Now, Google, Amazon, Apple, everybody has got a major headquarter in Ireland, which is a tax haven. Okay. Now, so if you go to tax haven, your country of residence goes for a toss. But marketing you have to do globally. Marketing you can't just finish within the tax haven. So country of market is going to acquire more and more importance. US government has accepted it, but the system which has been proposed is thoroughly unfair. So I'm just repeating what I've said here is 99% of the tax revenue from this business will go to USA. 1% of the tax revenue will be shared by 139 countries. This is the system today. Now, artificial intelligence. Okay. I'm just raising an issue. For drafting a simple issue of revenue sharing under double tax avoidance agreement, OECD took 26 years. And so far, digital commerce is okay. I mean, it could have been resolved within 1 year. It is okay compared to artificial generative intelligence, which uses LLM, large language model, and so many other things which we don't even understand today. But Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and people who understand, they are saying it is a big danger. It is worse than nuclear power. Worse than nuclear power means I don't understand how. But they explain in a 45-minute talk, they explain how artificial intelligence is more dangerous. For last few years, they have been saying that we require global regulation for artificial intelligence. Now, if digital commerce tax issue, please understand, tax issue is the small issue. Business is the major issue, 100% is the business. If tax issue, it takes 26 years to resolve, how much time we will take for artificial intelligence? This is no way of working. You can't work like that. Now I'm bringing an issue of principle. Now I think all of us know that in India, the best law ever drafted is Indian Contract Act. Why do I say best? Because take any nice gentleman, nice meaning a person who is ethical. For any issue arising under contract, you ask him what should be done. Whatever he will say will be there in the Contract Act. Contract Act goes by businessman's logic, by ethics, by common sense, justice, and fairness. You can't say that for company law, for example. Company law, nobody understands. At least I don't understand. There are experts on company law, but how many hundreds of sections are there in company law? We don't know. FEMA, nobody understands. It is exactly contrary to businessman's logic. So I would say on a scale, FEMA is the worst law. Indian Contract Act is the best law. Okay. Now, what does the Contract Act say? Any agreement between two or more persons is valid if it has been arrived at by free consent of people competent to enter into the contract. And how do you decide competence? If that person is capable of understanding the consequences of his agreement, he is capable of forming a judgment of how it will affect him. We have simplified. Minor hai, he cannot enter into contract. Somebody is suffering from madness, etc., he cannot enter into contract. But behind these two, thresholds, what lies is the principle that a minor is not capable of entering into a contract because he does not understand the consequences. Okay. Now apply these principles. I'm not saying Contract Act will apply to international treaty, but look at the principles. If you apply the principle, then out of 140 countries, at least 100 countries do not understand international taxation. And they certainly do not understand digital taxation. And certainly the attempt is to make the law so complicated that we also don't understand. We in India understand international tax, but deliberate attempt, if you will try to read it, you will find how difficult it is. Okay. So minimum 100, maybe more than 100 countries are not capable of making a judgment of the consequences of this new proposed law. Okay. And the balance countries who understand? Britain, France, Germany, Austria, India. They have been shown a gun at their forehead and they have been told to sign the agreement. This is USTR. The threat given by first President Trump of trade war. Trump was shouting from the rooftop. He went, President Biden came. But I think most of you who observe the international politics would realize that president may be A, B, C, X, Y, Z, anybody. It is the US establishment which rules. So while Mr. Trump wanted that digital taxation should be in favor of USA, Mr. Biden came without shouting or anything. He straight away started action under USTR. And within a year, everybody fell in line. So what is now being discussed under MLC, the Multilateral Convention, is under threat. If it is under threat, then under Indian Contract Act, it would be an invalid agreement, non-binding agreement, non-enforceable agreement. Okay. There is no slide on it, but I'm telling you another aspect. While Indian Contract Act is not applicable, Vienna Convention is of course applicable. Vienna Convention of International Treaties. Everybody who has learned double tax avoidance agreements knows Vienna Convention. Vienna Convention says a treaty shall be interpreted in good faith, which takes it for granted that the treaty shall be drafted in good faith. Now, if you look at it from that point of view, under Vienna Convention, also multilateral convention would fail. It would not be a binding agreement. That is one aspect. Now I'm going to another aspect, comparing our double tax avoidance agreement models with MLC. We have OECD model, we have United Nations model, US model, and of late India has also published its own model. Model is what? Well, we as article students, I remember when I had to draft first partnership agreement, boss said, you take that ABC partnership firms partnership did, change the names, change 2-3 clauses here and there, and make XYZ agreement. Okay. So the first agreement is taken as a basic model. It's a basic draft. Then based upon that draft, you make appropriate changes as may be necessary. Okay. OECD model is only that much. It is a ready draft available to you, so you don't have to spend too much time on it. UN model is only that much. Okay. Model was never compulsory to anybody. Every country which wanted to draft or which wanted to negotiate a double tax treaty, it was free. She was free to select any model and then pick and choose. What do you mean by pick and choose? You know, article about permanent establishment, Article 5, I'll take from OECD model. But Article 7 about business income, I will take from United Nations model. Royalty, FTS, certainly I'll take from UN model. Now, this is pick and choose. Having done the exercise of pick and choose, you could modify it to suit your requirement. It was a matter of two countries coming to an agreement. It was an entirely voluntary exercise, and it has to be, because by definition, sovereign countries enter into agreements. It is not like, say, me and Chirag sitting down and trying to sign an agreement. We are both Indian citizens subject to Indian law. But when India sits down and signs an agreement with, let us say, UK, they are bound by what? A sovereign is not bound by anything except for the voluntary agreement that the sovereign signs. But before signing the agreement, the two sovereign countries would come together, negotiate, and in a give and take exercise, they will come to an understanding. This is the exercise which has been going on for last 100 years. Now, under the multilateral convention, what is proposed is you have no option. Forget United Nations model, forget Indian model. What OECD IF, OECD Inclusive Framework will give you, that shall be your draft, period. Of course, there will be some modifications here and there, but that is going to be the basic model available to you. So the voluntary process gone for a toss. So I have listed out the main issues. Actually, there are a few thousand pages generated by this factory called BEPS or factory called OECD. I have so many pages they have generated. Try to summarize and put the crux of the matter here. It is this crux. USA directs. OECD is only a spokesman. You must understand. OECD is not a different independent organization. It is a spokesman of United States of America. So at the instructions of OECD, at the instructions of USA, OECD tells us, abolish your unilateral digital service tax. If you have got any law which amounts to taxing digital corporations, you have to abolish that law. Then you shall pass the law that I am handing over to you. Further, commit that in future, you shall never pass a law different from the MLC. You have no option to select or UN model or anything. Now further, when we started discussing international taxation, a question was raised, those are elementary days of study, whether OECD model and OECD commentary are binding on us, binding on Indian judiciary. It was a settled principle of law that OECD commentary does not bind anybody in the world. It has intellectual value. Okay. Few people may sit together, break their head over an issue, and then come to some good draft or good commentary, good interpretation. Here as OECD had a pool of people, they drafted commentary and they placed it for the public. If you like it, you take it. If you don't like it, forget it. No court in India was bound by OECD commentary. But now USA says, till yesterday, you were not a member of OECD. So you could say that you are not bound by OECD commentary. But in this BEPS exercise, you have become a party. Indian income tax commissioners are going to the BEPS group. They are negotiating. You have negotiated. You have signed the MLI. So now you are bound by it. Once you are bound by MLI and MLC, forget about anything else. Here also, under the multilateral convention, they have started drafting the commentary. So they will give the commentary and our courts will be required to interpret as per the commentary. I hope I am exaggerating. I hope I am seeing too much into it. Hopefully it will be more democratic than what I am saying, but a lot of paperwork. What I see today is that it is all one-sided. It is a law drafted and given to us by an organization. And then there is something called dispute resolution mechanism. I'll give you a little background here. Even in the year 1999-2000, when in the e-commerce committee we were discussing about arbitration, the tax commissioners told us very clearly that in any international arbitration, it is always given that the Western world will win the case and the developing countries will lose the case. That is one statement. Secondly, Indian judiciary is independent, a robust judiciary. If there is a tax dispute, we will go to our court. Why should we go to international arbitration? So as a matter of policy, India has always refused to sign international arbitration. Even as late as the year 2015, when MLI was signed, India refused the BEPS report number 14, which is about international arbitration. India refused. We will not go for any arbitration. Today under MLC, actually even on this dispute resolution mechanism, there are 1,000 pages. I mean, a huge number, and there are contradictory. Naresh and I were discussing today, and when in the same report there are contradictory paragraphs, we said, okay, we'll require one more week to read everything and come to a conclusion. But prima facie, it appears dispute resolution mechanism will be binding on India. Okay. This I call as a direct attack on Indian sovereignty. Some outsider tells what Indian parliament will pass. Some outsider says what Indian courts will interpret, how they will interpret. This is an attack on our sovereignty. Now, I can't understand or I can't imagine how our Indian income tax officers, who are extremely intelligent, and I can say it on oath that there are many income tax commissioners who are excellent in double tax avoidance agreements matter. They know what is the law they are drafting. They know the treaty that they are negotiating. They are very good on international taxation. How can they accept this kind of proposals? But OECD has made a claim that 140 countries have agreed to this MLC. Sorry, there is one more comment. I'll come to that. But before that, there is one more thing which irritates me. You know, imagine a situation where you file your income tax return with audited accounts. Income tax officer has no power to ask you any questions. It would be heaven, right? No scrutiny, Baba. You have submitted the figure. My profit is 13 lakhs of rupees. Okay, Baba, 13 lakh. Now, how much tax you are paying me? Okay, I'm paying you X amount. So he has to accept. That is what the MLC says. The multinational corporations will submit the accounts and that the officer has to accept. Given, period. While I'm making this comment, I'm sorry to note, even within India, how many tax professionals and how many tax commissioners go into the study of OECD reports from this self-respect point of view. Sovereignty is a very big word, but a self-respect point of view. If you have your heart in the right place and if you are a self-respecting country, how can you sign this kind of agreement? This point I have already said. So under the new proposed method, if Tata Motors is exporting its truck, Tata Steel is exporting steel, somebody is exporting iron ore, okay, TCS is exporting software, the importing country will start levying income tax on all these countries. So it is possible, nobody has done that macro level statistics, but it is possible that while we tried to levy digital tax on the digital corporations and we would have got probably 20,000 crores, that 20,000 crores will be reduced to 200 crores income which India will earn, and we will be paying 500 crores of taxation to other countries. Net process will be quite likely India will be a loser. Who will benefit in this kind of tax system? The importing country is the country of market. That country of market will levy the tax. Who is the largest importer in the world? USA. So the system is already geared in such a manner that whatever may be the calculation, USA will get the maximum benefit. I can go deep into the economics of this issue, but I'll restrict myself to the legal aspect. Another technical issue, now under the new system proposed, that concept of permanent establishment will not be required. That was the bone of contention because of which we spent so many years, but that is now given a go by. Just because you have got revenue, your revenue is the nexus. And if the foreign company earns, say, more than rupees 9 crore or more than $1 million, 1 million euros, then you have the right to tax that company. If a foreign company earns less than rupees 9 crores revenue from India, India has no right to tax it. This I have already said. Now, another point of, I don't know how many people in India are aware of the unilateral position taken by USA in almost every agreement. Illustration: Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. USA may make 100 explosions, nuclear explosions, okay? But except for the cartel under the NPT, other countries are not supposed to do even nuclear experiments. You shall not use nuclear power. Okay, of course, power people will use, but nuclear weapon manufacturing is not open to you. USA can go on doing it. Kyoto Agreement, which was driven by US government. Kyoto is the Environment Protection Agreement. But USA did not sign. And in the first year of President Joe Biden's presidency, people might have seen that there was a meeting of environment control, meaning for people from all over the world had gathered in Rome, okay, for discussing environment control. Joe Biden went there in a 90 limousine cavalcade. 90 limousines for one person. Okay. And they went there, and what did Joe Biden say? Sorry, I'm not going to sign it. You people go ahead and sign it. And I think this picture photographs had appeared on the front page of all the newspapers. You might remember. So America's unilateral system is this. There is a difference of opinion between me and the Vice President Chirag. What do? Both of us appoint lawyers. Both of us succumb to the same law. And there is an independent judiciary there. USA says, what nonsense? I will draft the law. I will appoint the judge. And I'll appoint my lawyers. Now you come and fight. Let us see. This is the exercise of MLC. You might be also aware, this is another illustration of unilateralism. Under the FATCA agreement, I have discussed with the officers who were party to negotiations and all that. American government expects the rest of the world to report to USA about any American taxpayer's income or wealth in those countries. So if in the world there are 200 countries, 99 countries will report to USA. But USA has no responsibility to report. Let us say an Indian resident, Indian citizen has his black money lying in USA. US government knows about it. US government is not bound to report to India. India is bound to report to USA. Pure unilateralism. This also I have told. This is another illustration. Oh, it is already 7:05. Apple tax planning. I'll just say in brief that European Union was after Apple and a few other American corporations who had done aggressive tax planning, earning billions of pounds or billions of euros from Europe, not paying any tax to Europe. So the European court punished Apple Corporation with 13 billion euros penalty. It was tax and penalty and all that. US government ensured that the matter went into a higher court of appeal in European Union, and the higher court refunded the entire amount with interest. So 15 billion euros were refunded. If an American corporation does your tax avoidance, you better be quiet. Now, when you say that 140 countries have agreed to MLC, it is like this. President Xi Jinping says that I have been elected unanimously for my lifetime to be the premier of China. And if you disagree, you disappear. Now, this is some philosophy I'm bringing into it because I have been looking at this exercise from 99. Okay. When the Indian E-Commerce Committee told the world that this concept of PE cannot be applied to e-commerce. Now, that time, Britain, France, Germany, everybody considered themselves as COR. They did not want to change the existing rules because they thought if India starts to tax, if Brazil starts to tax, if Australia starts to tax, we will suffer the loss. So none of them supported any change in the e-commerce taxation. Then what happened? Today, the only COR is USA. China has digital corporations, but people are not much bothered about Chinese corporations earning a lot of money. Okay. Now, Britain, France, Germany have become country of source. USA is country of resident, and there is fight between the two. This is how the nature has a way of turning the tables. Yesterday, you thought you are COR, today you are COS. Today again, USA is not prepared to listen to anybody. God knows the nature will again turn tables, and tomorrow USA might be on the receiving side. This is a slok which I love. Yauvanam dana sampattihi prabhutvam cha avivekita. Ekekam api anarthaya kimu yatra chatushtayam. This is from Hitopadesh. It says, if a person is young, he has lot of wealth, he has power, prabhutva, okay, and he is aviveki. I suppose everybody understands what is aviveki. Any one of these four is enough to destroy that person. Normally we see this wealthy person is exploiting the poor. No, the wealthy person is spiritually destroyed first, and then naturally, materially also destroyed first. So where all these four factors come together, the Sanskrit slok writer says, there is no question that person will be. I think, friends, we are at 10 minutes past 7. We should have at least 5 minutes for question answer. So I will stop at this. Chirag bhai, you can take over. Okay, I'll just complete the first part of it. Okay. Yeah, this is most important slide. In fact, thank you for giving me this extra time. I'm saying sovereignty is non-negotiable. Where is the question of arguing about it? The moment OECD IF group started talking about what my parliament should do and what my parliament should not do, what my court shall interpret and what my court shall not interpret, I think India should have walked out. Why continue? We should have boycotted these negotiations. And there are almost 50 countries in Africa who are not happy with it. There are 20 countries in Europe who are not happy with this. Somebody has to take the lead. Somebody has to boycott this dictatorial arrangement. Then probably 75, 80 countries would join, and then the whole thing will fall down like a pack of cards. Let us say I'm living in a road and there is a gunda staying there. I cannot argue with him. This logic and argument don't work. It is possible. That might happen, and government of India may not boycott. It's okay. But remember that USA is not your leader. OECD is not my leader. A leader is a person who sacrifices for the followers, who ensures the welfare of the follower. If somebody is exploiting, then certainly he is not a leader, and we must remain alert. At the first available opportunity, we have to break down the MLC, we have to break down the OECD. This is about artificial intelligence. Yes, Article 12B inserted into United Nations model is a very simple, efficient method of taxing digital corporations. There may be some improvements required, but we should take that as the first model and then further improve upon it. This is a philosophical statement. Our Upanishads, our Vedant talks of Advait. Advait means very simply, we are all one. And hence, we do not hate anybody. Those of you who have read the dialogues of Bhishma Pitamaha in Mahabharata, and Krishna Bhagwan advising the Pandavas during the war, he advised that while you have to fight for justice, you do not hate Kauravas. There is no need for hatred. And that is what Gandhiji implemented. Mahabharata was few thousand years back. Gandhiji in last century fought for independence, but never hated Britishers. And this is what we need to do. We need to fight back against this dictatorial arrangement without any hatred. Friends, thank you very much. હવે કેમેરો ચાલુ કરી શકો છો પેલું હા ઓકે
Thank you, Rashmin bhai, for the wonderful fireside session on understanding this new element, whether it's still an animal or how it's going to benefit India. I am sure if India creates a lot of startups with such giants and start exporting, it may help. Otherwise, as you suggested or you've said, it is in disaster. So let's see how things unravel. It was a very great session. I think if anybody has any questions, we can quickly take. Yeah.
Where is the question of digital taxation arising in export of goods? It's only for TCS exports of software, which is digitally transferred.
Correct. So here now the OECD IF group says, forget about digital taxation.
Okay.
Whatever is your business, the importing country will levy tax on you, provided your 20 billion euros turnover and 10% profitability.
It would include all kinds of goods and services.
Everything.
Supposing if it is BPO service, KPO service, everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Divya.
My only question is, what is our role as a professional in the market and the source and the residents, while the Indian government has only let us down?
Okay, I'll answer the second part first. Do not say Indian government has let us down, because I have been party to the discussions, as you would know. Our tax officers are more nationalistic than our chartered accountants. Okay, they are fighting their best. You must please understand. We must appreciate, for example, there is a Mahesh Nayak. Okay, he has a large office and he would have 25 juniors. He has every resource available to him. But look at the tax officer. He doesn't have 25 juniors under him. He doesn't have this kind of library which Mahesh's firm would have. So as in Gujarati they say, with wooden sword they are fighting their best. They are doing very good thing. Okay. I think in Bible there is a statement, know the truth and truth shall liberate you. So instead of just interpreting the law, Know the whole truth. Find out what is the truth. And as the word spreads, there will be more and more spirit to fight against this kind of US dictatorship. I really hope one day this dictatorship will collapse and there will be better democracy. Yes.
All this equation, there was a made to China in a different context. But is China part of this inclusive framework? And if so, China would be one of the country that would be badly affected. So what has been their role? Any reaction coming out of that? They are not the ones who would be easily bullied.
In fact, you can't bully. Nobody can bully China. I mean, in a way, I'm happy to say that there is somebody who will say no. He'll put his foot down. So who are the people who can say no? Russia, China. Large economies, powerful military. And another group of countries, Muslim countries. Okay. Most of them are poor countries. But when they feel that this is injustice, they will say, no, we will not do it. Iraq was destroyed. Okay. Iraq was destroyed because President Saddam Hussein said, I will sell oil in euro. USA said, why are you selling in euro? I will finish you. Iran is selling oil in terms of euro. I mean, they have the temerity to say no to US government. India doesn't have the power to say no. And 100 other countries do not have the power. China is not bothered. For Chinese government, tax is the least important issue. Chinese corporations do export their services, but it is small amount. American corporations do not have entry into China. So what is the tax issue? So China is not active. In the entire BEPS exercise, it was not active.
Chinese companies who export goods, they will be subjected to that.
So actually this tax on export of goods is 0.02%. So who is bothered really? Nobody gains anything, nobody loses anything. This is like just completely ineffective. It is an eyewash. Because because Britain wanted to be able to tax them, we did all this exercise. Now, if somebody gives you 0.02% of your revenue, I mean, who is interested? Somebody can tell me the questions, then I will try to answer.
I think the CA Kripakar has asked that while it is understood it's an attack on sovereignty, how come 139 countries are accepting? Zipping theory can hold good for all 139. I think what they've accepted may be told, because it's not the agreement which has been accepted. I think that point you had made.
I have already replied to that 100 countries don't even understand.
Right.
And the balance have been threatened with economic war.
I understand. I think the idea is that what they've accepted is only a statement. The agreement MLC is still.
Yeah, you are right. MLC is being negotiated.
Correct.
MLC is being drafted. In fact, there is far more serious issues which I have not covered, like drafting the domestic legislation. And OECD claims that 140 countries have agreed to it. So yes, MLC has not been signed, but at present, it appears that majority of the countries are ready to sign it.
Yeah. Monica Madani has asked that, while rationale and logic explained clearly suggest US dictatorship, still since many EU and other countries have already come out with legislations to implement Pillar 2, do you have any insights on whether and when Indian government is planning to adopt Pillar 2? I think your focus was on Pillar 1.
Yeah.
So,
I have actually for today, I'm focusing only on Pillar 1. I would not be able to answer on Pillar 2.
Yeah.
So I'll just take 1 minute on that. The querist has said European Union. Okay. Now, the humiliation of European Union in the matter of Apple. Okay. Once the European Union court levied a penalty, it had to refund the whole amount. So who has got the guts to fight? Yes, It is true, Naresh informed me today morning that European Union has come out with a whole list of issues which they have objections against MLC. Okay, we have objections, but then what will happen? This is something to be seen, how MLC develops further. Yes, please.
They will find out some solution way out to levy tax, just like equalization levy.
See, Indian income tax officers are more intelligent than American tax officers. Okay. But in USA, they stay on the same position for 15 years. Our officers are transferred every 3 years. And you take 5 years to learn international tax. So,
it's not going to gain much of a tax revenue. So will it make sense to give, 10-year tax holiday to MNCs who come and settle or establish business in India or make from India, something kind of this? So recently we read that, 18,000 crore was the export of mobiles. Out of that, 12,000 crore was Apple. Or we have given, large orders of aircrafts, 500, 470. And had we asked those companies, to set up some kind of a business, because so, if
I'll answer you.
yeah,
I got your point. Please appreciate the difference. Apple manufacturers goods. Goods have to be assembled. They have to be first, components have to be produced, then they have to be assembled. Apple is doing only assembly. That is hardly any value addition. If there is an export of 10,000 crores, there will be import of 9,500 crores. So it is an eyewash. Okay. What does Google need to do in India? Tell me. You are using Google search engine. You are using Gmail. What is to be manufactured? Nothing. You can't invite them. You can't tempt them to come and work in India.
it's like Amazon. See, the reason why I'm saying this is because, when these kind of MNCs come, apart from tax, the social infrastructure develops. When these MNCs come, we have offices like these MNCs like. So we have areas like, Lower Parel and BKC coming up, or, Gurgaon becomes, the millennium city. Then we have, those kind of shopping malls where these people like to shop. Then we have those kind of residential complexes where these people like to stay. We have those kind of brands which these people like to buy. Because otherwise, 30, 40 years back, who had thought that, these, blue collar jobs, so-called blue collar jobs, would be a dignified jobs in India, that, somebody can walk to the office in a shuttle, and, who's just doing the cleaning service, or, the housekeeping services. They are getting their salaries in their bank accounts. They have mobiles, they have ATMs. So a lot of, other infrastructure gets developed. So if we are not going to get any money or very meager money out of tax, so at least we should, leave this threat that India is, pouncing on MNCs for threat, for tax, and just, give them 10-year, 15-year holiday. So if we may not make ourselves tax heaven, but at least, we
Why
can.
not give exemption to Indian industrialists?
No, sir,
Why
we
give exemption
Sir,
to
we
foreign?
have. Sir, we have, because if you see, the softwares, sector, or we had for time immortal, we had, 80IA kind of a situation we had. But what I'm saying is that, no matter how much SIP you and I do in mutual fund, but stock market goes up only when FIIs come, irrespective of, the amount of investment in the system. So if that is how our system is working, so let's, make the best out of it, take advantage of it, rather than, just getting bullied by it, and, then change the world to our favor once we have that kind of a muscle.
Okay, I'll submit. I completely disagree with you. With full respect to you, anybody who comes to India for tax exemption is not a real businessman. If you want to do real business, come to India, pay the tax and do the business. Tax exemption and Gurgaon has been established by Indians.
Ye-
Okay, and I would say it is the Indian middle class market for which the foreign companies are coming into India. It is for one foreign company, for example, Amazon is not coming because Google executive will buy Amazon products. No, they are targeting you and me and the Indian middle class.
Working in MNCs and you are serving MNC clients. So, this is another perspective. I'm not, taking the shield away from your submission. This was just another perspective. Thank you, sir.
One last question.
Yeah, I think there's one online question is that can we say that the present Indian government may not have understood this issue or the government will have other priority and hence they have surrendered on this ground?
See, one thing I will tell you abundantly, clearly and authentically, Mr. Narendra Modi is the best Prime Minister India has ever had in the last 75 years when this aspect of international economics, international bargaining, international twisting, hand twisting, all those things considered, he is the best person to understand. He is not a man to surrender except, howsoever intelligent you may be, if the other party is too powerful, you may have to surrender. But he will take his own pound of flesh. He will not live like that. Okay. Yeah. He will not just live like that. And in the past, none of Indian Prime Minister had the guts which Narendra Modi has. So today, I don't think we are surrendering because of lack of knowledge. That is the last issue. Apart from Prime Minister, even our Indian income tax commissioners are very intelligent. If I can make a bold statement, some of the commissioners' knowledge is better than the best of the tax professionals. Okay. So ignorance is not the issue. There can be 1,000 other issues, but ignorance is certainly not.
Thank you. I think we'll just play a short video for the upcoming event, which is 20 seconds, and then we hand over the proceedings to Zubin Bhai for the vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all. Before I go on for the announcements and the vote of thanks, I would request our past president, Mr. Nitin Shingala, to hand over the photograph, the memory to our speaker. Before going on to the pleasant task of a vote of thanks, some upcoming events, rather now it is an event because we are almost at the end of the year and there is only one meeting which is planned for tomorrow. Seminar on CBDT's e-verification scheme 2021, including AIS and TIS, which is there tomorrow. It is free to all. It is organized by the Taxation Committee and it is in hybrid mode. There will be definitely a lot of other meetings starting from our 75th year, the announcements of which we will start bombarding you in due course. It is at 4 p.m. Sorry, the timing wasn't mentioned. It is tomorrow at 4 p.m. I think it should be interesting. I think there are some senior income tax officials also who are expected. So I think the interaction with them should prove invaluable to the tax professionals. Now coming to the vote of thanks on this very interesting topic of digital taxation. I think this discussion was probably less on digital taxation, but it was more of a, if I can use the term, clinical dissection of the so-called world's biggest or the second largest democracy into probably the world's greatest dictator or quasi-dictator. I think the way he analyzed the implications, it is quite scary. But at the same time, let us hope that in the future, the Indian government maybe takes some initiatives along with the support of a lot of other countries to remove whatever anomalies are there in this entire scheme of international taxation or digital taxation. It was definitely very insightful and eye-opening. I'm sure all of you would agree. So thank you, Rashmin bhai, for the very wonderful analysis, and hope to have more of your insights in the future on Pillar 2 and a lot of other things in the future. So request all of you to carry it with a loud round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.